Felix, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, have you contacted the IT section, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am contacting.
Yes, sir. Ask them to be ready, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Dear participants, please wait. We are coordinating with our today's resource person for the valedictory session. Madam will join.
Good afternoon, participants. Apologies for the delay in starting this session. Professor Kumari is currently just preoccupied with some work. She will join us shortly. But in the meantime, I thought we could use this opportunity to possibly reflect on our learnings over the past 5 days. So if there are, if any of you want to start off the conversation, we could do that. Or if you'd like me to begin that based on, what we have been learning over the last 5 days. And as someone who has been teaching, I'd be happy to share with you. Does anybody want to start off? Okay, if no one's particularly wanting to take the initiative.
Madam has joined, ma'am.
Okay, great. So we can go ahead and maybe have the conversation a little later. Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, good evening.
Dear IT section, please verify whether ma'am's audio is connected. I think ma'am has left the meeting.
Yeah, she's probably having connectivity issues.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Mr. Amrithan speaking?
Yes, Professor. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Professor. Our VC ma'am is here, Professor.
Yeah.
Please, ma'am.
Can we go ahead and start, Professor Kumari?
Okay. I thought Amrithan was speaking, was sharing his experience of the FDP. I want to get a sense of who speaks, at least brief me about his experience in the last few days. Then I can.
Okay. Sure, we will do that. We will just first do the official welcoming and everything, and then we can brief you on what we have done so far. I think that's a great idea. Okay, so let me once again welcome all the participants and to this final session of our faculty improvement program. And I want to extend my warm welcome to Professor Kumari, currently the Vice Chancellor of the National University in Odisha. Professor Kumari is a former Dean and Head Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, who began her teaching career in 1983 and has taught both graduate and undergraduate courses in the University of Delhi, Jammu University, Vanderbilt University, USA. Professor Kumari's main area of academic interest is juvenile justice, criminal law, gender discrimination, clinical education, and judicial training. Briefly, from 2009 to 2011, she even headed the Delhi Judicial Academy as its chairperson. She has, of course, initiated several taken several initiatives in terms of both academics and administration, and has had a very illustrious teaching career. Till before she took over these administrative roles as head of the Judicial Academy at Delhi, as well as the Vice Chancellor of the National Law University in Odisha. She has written very widely, but her main contribution is, of course, in the field of juvenile justice. And her dissertation, Rehabilitation Process in Juvenile Correctional Institutions in Delhi, which was in her LLM dissertation. She went on to work further on it in her PhD as well. And the same has been published, Juvenile Justice System from Welfare to Rights, as well as Child Advocacy, International Perspectives, Critical Analysis of Juvenile Justice Act 2015. These are a few examples of the publications of Professor Ved Kumari. So we are really honored to have you, Professor Ved Kumari, to address this final session of the valedictory program. We've had a rich 4.5 days of various reflections on different aspects of teaching law in the law universities, as well as, of course, in the colleges and private law colleges. And I would leave it to my colleagues from the Faculty Improvement Program to brief you on what we have done till now and what the learning has been. We just had Professor Amita Danda in the last session talking to us about the evaluation process. What kind of thinking has to inform our evaluation process. So over to the Faculty Improvement Program faculty members.
Thank you, ma'am. Thomas Felix. Now, Dr. Thomas Felix, Assistant Professor of Economics, Tamil Nadu National University, will give brief about the 5 days Faculty Improvement Development Committee. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Please, sir.
Sir, whether am I audible, sir?
Yes, Felix, sir.
Yes,
You are.
yes.
Sir, you are
Thank you,
audible.
thank you, sir. Respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. V.S. Elizabeth, beloved Registrar, M.S. Leela, our today's chief guest, Professor Dr. Ved Kumari, Vice Chancellor, NLUO, and dear participants. On behalf of the Faculty Improvement Committee, I would like to welcome you all to the last day of the one-week faculty development program on teaching methodology and pedagogy and interdisciplinary approach. It's my privilege to have been asked to read the report of this one-week faculty development program on this occasion. Totally, 47 participants were selected for this one-week faculty development program. Out of those 47 participants, 23 are from TNNLU and 24 are from other institutions. The participants are registered from various institutes, includes National Law University Odisha, Shiksha O Anushandan deemed to be University Odisha, National University of Study and Research in Law, Jharkhand, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu, VIT School of Law, Chennai, Government Law School, Vellore, Savita School of Law, Tamil Nadu, the Central Law College, Salem, Central Dr. Ambedkar Government Law School, Tiruvallur, MNLU, Aurangabad, Maharashtra, Government Law School, Salem, National Law School of India University, Bangalore, the Madura College, Madurai, Government Law School, Madurai, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu, and VP's Vasantrao Power Law College, Pune, Maharashtra. Since it's an interdisciplinary FDP, participants are registered from non-law subjects like commerce, economics, political science, history, sociology, etc. This one-week FDP consists of 14 technical sessions, including an inaugural and a valedictory session. On day 1, we had 3 technical sessions, including the inaugural session. Professor Dr. V.S. Elizabeth, Vice Chancellor, TNNLU, was inaugurated this one-week FDP. She gave a talk on need for interdisciplinary approach to teaching and study of law. She made a moot point on the need for interdisciplinary approach in teaching, learning, and research. In technical session 2, Professor Dr. Thomas Matthew, Gujarat National Law University, gave a talk on intersection of law and technology. He highlighted the significance of interrelationship between law, science, and technology. He also made a wide spectrum of the applicability of legal provisions, including prevention and liability. He also highlighted online filing and energy from nuclear materials. Then we had Professor Dr. S. Sendilnathan, Director in charge, UGC Human Resource Development Center, and Professor, Department of Education Technology, Bharatdasan University. Professor accosted a talk on digital learning, techno-pedagogical and OER perspective. Professor has emphasized about 50 to 55 crores are being earmarked for DII and the examination on demand and also outcome-based education in the 21st century. He has also spoken about 3 E's, that is nothing but enable, engaged, and empowered. On day 2, we had the 3 technical sessions. In technical session 4, Professor Dr. Sitaram Kakarla, Professor Asim Premji University, gave a talk on law and political science. He started his talk on why interdisciplinary is essential, and he extended his talk on how to approach the law and political science. For that, Professor gave 3 approaches, including perspectives emanated from national law schools, counter approach, and Upendra Pakshi's long-term spurning work from 1960s. Followed that, Mr. Satyaranjan Mishra, Assistant Professor of Commerce, gave a talk on law and commerce. Professor beautifully narrated the interconnection between the law and commerce and taught us how to design the curriculum. Besides that, Professor highlighted various methods of evaluation like case study method, judgment analysis, role play, breakouts, polls, quizzes, etc. Then Dr. Nityananda KV, Indian Institute of Management, Trichy, gave a talk on law and management. He started his presentation with the question, why do we need to do business? He stated that we are doing business for creating the wealth. He also highlighted that the legal system determines the effectiveness of wealth creation in a country. Professor also emphasized the 3 stages of interaction of law and management includes regulatory compliance by the business decision making, and legal system, and legal tools at different stages of business development. On day 3, we had 2 technical sessions. In technical session 7, Dr. K. Parameshwaran, Associate Professor of Law, Gujarat National Law University, gave a talk on law and spirituality, exploring the bonds. Professor started his talk with what is meant by spiritual and religion. He highlighted that all the subjects directly or indirectly teaches the spirituality. Professor gave many examples with related to law. Followed that, Professor Dr. N. Ebenezer Joseph, visiting professor, TNNLU, gave a talk on the modern concept of rule of law in administrative jurisprudence. Professor has discussed about the evaluation and the implication of rule of law by highlighting the case laws. On day 4, we had 3 technical sessions. In technical session 9, Professor Dr. Prashanenshu, Professor of English, National Law University, Delhi, delivered a talk on the interface of law and literature. In his interactive session, Professor has linked the Tirukural with the literature. Professor has pointed out the example of Caesar, Ambedkar, Alibai, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. Professor said that English is people, language, literature, and communication. By reading a poem, Professor has interlinked the substantive and procedural law during his address. Followed that, Professor Dr. Anita Nagar, Professor of Economics, GNLU, delivered a talk on analytical methods in law and economics. Professor started her talk by stating the evaluation of economics from mercantilist to economic crisis of 2008, and she pointed out the challenges of or limitations of classical schools by stating the work of Thomas Piketty, Frank A. Upham, Catherine Appister, and Oxfam Report 2022. Professor has highlighted the mainstream economic approach to law, including rational choice theory and legal rules. Professor also stated law is used as a tool to correct the market failures. On day 5, we had 3 technical sessions excluding the valedictory session. In technical session 11, Professor Dr. V. Vijaykumar, Vice Chancellor, NLIU, held forth a speech on changing trends in pedagogical practices. Professor started his presentation by stating the negative impacts or trends of changing pedagogical practices. Professor also stated that whatever the pedagogical trends is, it should include the 4 pillars, that is teaching, learning, evaluation, and certificate. Professor also stated the 3 pillars of higher education given by Karan Gupta and 5 trends in higher education. Followed that, Professor Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Vice Chancellor, NLSIU, sermonized a talk on changing trends in pedagogical practices, modern ICT tools. Professor talked about how to look at technology in teaching mode. Also, he talked about post-COVID legal education. Professor insisted on exponential learning is the key factor for the legal education. In technical session 13, Professor Dr. Amita Danda, Professor of Law, Nalsar, Prelect a talk on suitable tools for evaluation. Professor started her talk by putting a question: where do we situate evaluation in the process of education? And she talked about the components of evaluation, including continuous evaluation, periodic, and mixed evaluation. Professor also talked about various ways in which the testing procedure can be designed and how to assess the performance. So now we are in the valedictory session. Also, I would like to say that this is our first event under this FIP committee. Thanks for your unconditional support for this event. We are looking forward to your presence in our future program. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Teaching without learning is just a talking. So with this small quote, now I request any two of the participants to give a valuable feedback about the 5 days faculty development program organized by the Tamil Nadu National University. Dear participants, your comments, please.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Good afternoon, respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Elizabeth. Good afternoon, Professor Kumari ma'am, Vice Chancellor, Bhopal National University, Odisha, sorry. So, first of all, it is my pleasure to give a feedback on the FDP which was held in the past 1 week. And thank you very much for the organizers, very well planned and without any small difficulty, we all enjoyed the FDP. So starting the FDP, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So the FDP started with a wonderful section of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Elizabeth, on the importance of interdisciplinary aspects. And not to mention any specific section and all, we understand that all the sections are very good, because this particular FDP was structured in such a manner that the organizers tried to cover all the aspects, wherein which what is the current contemporary issues of law, wherein which they try to interlink between various disciplines and law. So that is one of the importance, that is the interdisciplinary aspects, and how the law can be connected to the economics, how it can be connected to management, how it can be connected to technology, and all these is because the first and the second section was completely related to the technological perspective, and both the section, I think the first section was done by Professor Thomas, and the second section was done by Selvanathan sir. Both have given their complete justice to cover the important aspect of the technological perspective was concerned. So all the sections were very important, and also not I mean, the fourth important, I think the fourth day or third day, the morning session was a spiritual section and afternoon session was a philosophical section. Morning session, Parameswaran sir was talking about spirituality and law. It was a really an interesting deliberations. And afternoon section, Ebenezer sir was talking about rule of law. We all know about rule of law, but sir was taking us out of the box to explain more about the rule of law. So, and today morning the session, Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor Vijay Kumar sir was talking about the teaching pedagogies and how it can be in a very simple manner he explained. Even though for the past 2 years we are handling classes on online platforms, etc. and all, we till now we are not completely in a position. Sir started the session by saying that this particular PPT was done by me. I only uploaded it. So that particular sentence itself was saying everything, that you are not supposed to say that you are just a law person, we are not technological person. Technology is a must, we have to keep in our hand. In that way, sir started the session, and again the second session, Honorable Chancellor of National Law University Bangalore was given us a very wonderful session regarding the methods, and we all have a very discussion. So the entire FTP was in such a manner that everybody was busy persons and very committed person, but still we all were given an opportunity to discuss. That was the best part of that. Every one of us was right to have a deliberation with the speakers, and also the last session we all observed how it was like. That was an important part of the online session, wherein which we teachers will be helpless how to evaluate the thing. So it was a best answer to the particular important question. When in the online classes and all, how to manage the student, how the evaluations can be done, how the rubrics or the how you can structure a rubrics wherein which based on the rubrics you can make the evaluation process, etc. and all. So it is a wonderful FTP wherein which all the interdisciplinary aspects and all other subjects. I would have been missed some 1 or 2 sessions. I think even the political science professor, I think Sita Raman sir. What's the name of the sir? That particular session. Pardon, sir?
Sitaraman Kakarala.
Sitaram Kakarala.
Yeah. Sir was also when we were all having a good discussion on that particular day. I do remember. So we all were having a very good discussion regarding the interdisciplinary researches and exactly what people are doing, what the students are doing in the research, whether it is exactly an interdisciplinary research or the students are just mentioning it in the for the namesake. They are just touching the sociological and other perspective. So that was a very interesting discussion happened on that particular day. So each and every section, we cannot say that this particular session was not good. This was and Renita ma'am, her section, economical section also was, I think yesterday afternoon. It was regarding the evaluation, and also we were having a very funny discussion with ma'am. So that was also really a good experience. So I don't want to take much of your time. Thank you very much for the organizers and a special thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor Elizabeth ma'am for supporting this type of an FDP, and we expect that this type of FDP should happen in the future also in physical campus, so that we all can come and have a direct deliberations and discussions with respect to the topics are concerned. Thank you very much for the organizers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Any other feedback? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please, sir.
It has been last 5 days. We are all together in a different world, and now I have become, I used to get that particular environment while Agrawal sir and Nirmal sir would ask everybody to join, and the way I just not only the faculty development, but I got the feeling of humbleness. The way they saying thank you to another every resource person, that was something much more things we could virtually understood from this faculty development program, and I wish if we would be there in on campus, so that will be a different scenario. But with a heavy heart, I would like to say that last 5 days, in last 13 lectures, we got to know various new things, as it was an interdisciplinary faculty development program. As a teaching field, there is never nobody can be achieve the perfection. There is always a scope for improvement. And as a teacher, for us, like me, a new one, I am very fortunate also that there are some senior faculty members are here also for this faculty development program, and I have that. I have that particular legacy, that that particular thing, that I got not only the inputs from the research persons, but from all others, the participants who are there, and that has really elaborated the mindset and the way of looking towards the approach I should maintain towards the student for their academic improvement. And on behalf of all the participants, I would like to thank especially to Vice Chancellor Madam and the Registrar Madam and all the team of faculty improvement department which is there of the Tamil Nadu National Law University for having this particular opportunity. And we are definitely, I especially was very much more benefited. And I would like to also thank you for understanding the bandwidth and data limitation. We have that particular limitations, so we could not on the cameras, all together, but yes, we always wanted to be, and I would like all, I just wanted to make a request on behalf of all the participants that we would like to be part of this such a congregation in future also. So kindly arrange one kind of another orientation program or the resource refresher course. So we will definitely be there, and I'm happy it is like a small family unit. So I would like to, it is a connection feeling which is there, the sentiments are there. So yes, thank you everybody out there for helping us and for guiding us and for increasing the borders and scope of our understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikas sir, for your valuable feedback. Never stop learning, because life never stop teaching. With this small quote, now I request our today's resource person, Professor Dr. Kumari ma'am, to deliver the valedictory address. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, good evening. Very glad to have heard the summary of the program and the praises the participants have made of the program. I'm very happy that you had a very successful one. My own learning in terms of teaching methodology started in 1995. And it changed. It changed with one of the programs I had actually at NLS. And Elizabeth was there at that point of time, which was called CLE, Refresher Program. There had been an orientation. We got straight up into the refresher program. But that changed the way I taught. And I found my students learning a lot more in my classes than they were when I was using the way I was teaching earlier. So I want to ask you, this is one of the things I've learned, that you can never have a monologue when you're talking to people and you want them to learn something. So my question is, can you do the listing, and we'll all participate in this. What were the teaching methods you found used in the last 5 days, including today? So what were the various teaching methods that your resource persons used? I know lecture is one. In addition to lecture method, which other methods did you find the resource persons used? Elizabeth, you will have to see the hands and identify who will speak.
It is in the chat box. Interaction with the students, PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable with my laptop, but today I'm on my cell phone, and I find it very difficult to work it out.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, so tell me.
In the chat box, what the participants have put down is one was interactions, then the other was PowerPoint presentation.
PowerPoint presentation is a tool, not a method.
Group discussions, ma'am.
Yeah.
There was the case study method, Socratic method.
Can somebody give me an example of the two? What did you classify? What the teacher did for you to say this person was using Socratic method? What is the method that I'm using now?
It's interaction method, Professor.
So interaction is a non-inclusive term. What I'm trying to do at this point of time, we call it the brainstorming. We want to get all the information together. And also application, because somewhere what you experience, we want to voice it out. So there is no interactive method. There are two ways. One says, do you have any question? And some of us will raise our hands and say, yes, we have a question. So that's one way of asking for interaction. The other way of asking interaction is that who is going to tell me what were the methods that you were exposed to during this teaching methodology, this FTP. So there I'm specifically checking on a purpose. Both of them are leading to interaction. But when I leave it in an open question, then I'm not building up a discussion. It depends on if somebody raises a hand or somebody doesn't raise a hand. They're two different things. But if I ask a specific question, I want an answer. What I'm doing there is I'm forcing people to participate. And secondly, I'm also trying to check what is the level of knowledge among my participants. What is it that they have comprehended? And in my learning on teaching methodology, and I thought it is a much more effective teaching methodology when we use students' experiences, their knowledges, their experiences, their expectation of the knowledge, what they want in the classroom. While planning a session, it becomes much more effective. There's no difference between you as students, though you are all teachers, but you as students at this point of time and our students when we are the teachers in the classroom. You are students here, you're all adults, our students are also adults. And that's where the major difference happens between what I have been trying to differentiate between andragogy and pedagogy. We keep on using the word pedagogy, which is of course the method of teaching, improving learning, but that is much more used in the context of children. So how children learn, and as we all learned, by repetition. When we started speaking one words, our mothers kept on saying mama, papa, baba, repeatedly, and then we learned it by rote also when we were in school. 2 is to 2, 2 is 2, 2 are 2, 4, all that we learned by rote. So this was repetitive method. Quite many of us make our notes and we repeat them in the classroom. We want them to take notes, and then at the end of the day, they will produce it in the examination. And most of the time when we are sharing knowledge, it is only giving what I know. But I do not know how my student is going to receive it. So I'm quite sure all of us in the higher education have had a teacher who has left a very major impact on our lives. Whether they were from school, they were in your college, they were in the university. And I want each one of you to think of one person. I won't ask you to share the name or any identity of the person. But I want you to think of a teacher who you thought was a very good teacher of yours. Then I want you to list down 3 things about that person. Why did you think he was a good teacher? And more recently, if you want to do that, you can extend that to this FTP itself. One of the speakers did say that you can't say one session was better than the other. But as teachers, we do know we need to evaluate. You've just had Amita Nada speak on evaluation. So if you were to rate the best 3 sessions, and I'm quite sure the best 3 will differ from participant to participant, because your understanding of best 3 will come from your expectation of the program, your interest in the program, in that session, the relevance of the knowledge given in the session to your own life as a teacher. That will impact on your rating of which were the 3 best sessions. But I want you to do this, both the exercise, and I'll be quiet for about 1 minute so that you can write it down. So identify the best teacher you've had in your life, who you think was really a good teacher. Identify 3 things about that person, which made him or her your best teacher. We learn from our good teachers, we learn from bad teachers as well. You can think of a very bad teacher also. And write down 3 things. Why did you not like that teacher? And that, if you were to share that cumulative knowledge in this session with each other, we would have a whole list of things which make us effective teachers, which makes learning interesting. Because our teachers, those who like, they were not boring teachers. But were they not teaching us the subject matter? They were teaching us the subject matter as much as the other boring teachers were. So how did they teach those things? It's all in our experience, but we have not identified that. So I want you to take 1 minute to jot down small points. I don't want to write big essays, but 1 minute I'll be quiet and write down 3 things actually. 3 things about the best teacher you had, 3 things about the worst teacher which made them the worst teacher. And in this session itself, what were your 3 best sessions, and why do you think they were your best 3 sessions? So I'm going to look at the watch. I'll be quiet for 1 minute. Please write down. Can I assume that you have written that down? Those of you have written it down, please put your comments, don't write the name of the teacher, but the qualities which made them the best teacher. Very quickly write down the 3 points that you've written in the chat box. And then we will have a quick look at the chat box to see how many points are getting repeated. So don't worry if it's a repetition of the same thing somebody else has said, just put down. And I'll try and see where is the chat box. One of the important points I'm reading here is in law, we have to certainly promote that agreeing to disagree, giving spaces to different voices. Communication, certainly listening, patience. Listening is as much important as teaching is. Without good listening, we cannot be a good teacher. I'm hearing engaging, participation, etc. Again repeatedly. Okay, we have already jumped to bad quality also. So if you do this exercise, but everybody wants to put this down there. I don't have to give you lecture. We already have cumulative understanding of who is a good teacher and a bad teacher. And this is coming from our own experience. So we want to be a good teacher. We need to know how to emulate these teachers, whom we have found to be good teachers. And that's the first learning I had, because when I changed my teaching methodology, I was very engrossed in those 21 days of training at NLS Bangalore. And I enjoyed it so much, even though those teaching methodology, they were teaching it as part of our clinical teaching methods. I didn't teach a clinical course at that point of time, but I decided to use those methods, role play, simulation, group work, the use of audio visual materials, and also using films as a teaching method, not as a teaching tool, is also important. Over the years, I've learned a lot more areas. So I certainly believe that having a mix of methods is essential, in addition to having a mix of tools as well. When I said that PPT is a tool, so is the Blackboard. So and a flip chart, there's something visual. Why do we use blackboards in our classrooms? Why do we use visuals? Because when you look at the theories about learning, they tell us that people learn a lot more, or the least learning, especially for the visual impaired, learn differently. But people with visual abilities learn very little by just hearing. It doubles up when it is combined with visual and audio. It is even better when you start thinking about it. The best is when you teach the subject. And I'm quite sure younger teacher would remember it very clearly, that they thought they had mastered the subject, but when they went to the class, they realized that they did not know many things that the students were asking. The best learning and retention of the knowledge happened at that point of time. Noel's Malcolm gives us the theory of adult learning, which says adults have a major thing about learning first before they can learn. Our students are adults. They have about minimum 18 years of experience of their lives. Certainly not my 65 years. But if you were to look at 80 years of experience or 20 years of experience in my classroom into 60, which is how many? 1200 years of life? exist in my class. 1200 years of experience exist in my class if my average student was 20-year-old and there's 60 of them. I'm only 65 years. I have experience of 65 years of my life. They have experience of cumulative experience of 1200 years of their lives together. So if we can tap into that knowledge, tap into their experience, make our knowledge relatable to them, then they are with us in our class. Otherwise, they sit there physically. We keep on saying, no, you are physically here, you're not mentally here. So why are they not mentally there? Because unless they can see a direct relationship. So if you did that other, say, the third exercise also of identifying which sessions were most important for you, you will see that the sessions which had some knowledge component, which you will be able to use straight away in your class, will top in your list. Because as adults, we value the knowledge which is of practical use to me now. Something which I will, we've seen this in our practical training courses. When we talk about, when it is a moot court course or a mock trial course, then the CRPC, Evidence Act all come alive. But when we're teaching them CPC, CRPC, they were all lost. In first year, second year, Delhi University, we teach it in the earlier years. They are completely lost. They do not understand the importance of that. But when they're about to pass out, they suddenly realize that procedural laws are so important. Then they start awakening to the importance and learning of the original procedures, because this is a direct consequence. If they're planning to practice, they need to know the procedure as much as they need to know the substantive law. So I certainly think that when we are listing out, so when I ask you to give me an example, you said Socratic Method. So I did not hear a quick response, and I didn't wait enough time, I think, for you to respond to that question. Socratic Method was said to be a good method of teaching, but now it is subject of a lot of criticism also. We should be aware of it. It's not that we don't use the Socratic Method, but we should use it with a little bit of caution. If your students are docile, they're a little not confident, Socratic methods actually involves in asking questions and questions and questions, and we facilitate by questioning for the students to learn the answer, find the answer themselves. That is a good one with a confident student, with a knowledgeable student, with a thinking student, with an imaginative student. But your student is lacking all that, then that student might feel humiliated because he doesn't know the right answer. He might think that I do not know the right answer. The teacher is continuously keeping asking me more and more questions. But I find what is really very useful is to have small group discussions. If I had my laptop with me and I could see the bigger screen with more of you there, then okay, 5 of you sit together and collate your list. And because in the smaller group, students feel less threatened. For them to just suddenly stand up and speak to the class may be very overawing for them. But we say, okay, talk in a group of 5 and then keep a track of that who is speaking, who is not speaking, and those who are not speaking to go to individual rooms and others. So I certainly think small group discussion in the classroom is important. One of the consequences of using the participatory methods is always that you are not in control of the class. You're also not in control of the knowledge the students will have. And as teachers, we are so used to having control because we need to do the tick mark at the end of the day. Yes, this is what I've done. I've covered this topic. I've covered this point. But that doesn't happen in a discussion. You do not know where the discussion is going, which direction it took off. And the moment you allow students to participate, they will ask you questions which you think are not important, but they think this is important. And therefore, your time management goes for a toss. But what I found is that little bit of managing time is required, but not too much. You don't have to do the tick mark for every the 5 points I was supposed to cover. You don't have to explain all the 5 points yourself. If you've covered 3, the 2 which are left, you point that out, tell the students that these are the other 2 things we should look up. And if you've got any questions, come back next time and ask me. And as a double check, I would ask them what have they learned about those 2 points I did not cover in the class, so that they know that this was important. It wasn't that it was important. Usually students think that if this teacher hasn't told about something in the class, it's not important. But I certainly believe that for effective learning at the higher education level, what is important is to create interest in the students to learn themselves. They are with us for 5 years or 3 years, depending on what course they are with us for. After that, they have to learn themselves. There will be no teacher to tell them this is the course, this is the source from where you will get the information. So if we can enable them during their stay with us to find things for themselves, to start thinking for themselves, to do analysis, self-reflection, I think that's what constitutes better learning and more effective consequences of learning in higher education. So anybody who wants to share your thought as I speak? Do you think what I'm saying is making sense to you?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, but why it is making sense to you?
We get the essence that we have to not teach and cover the syllabus, but to train the minds to think independently and accurately or analytically. And our role becomes almost an enabler.
Yeah, we are the facilitator. So in your own understanding, I do not want you to name these sessions, but the sessions you found most relevant in your ranking of the 3 sessions, what were the things, what were your parameters to classify whatever session? No? So I don't want you to be kind of identifying the sessions, but what were the things about those sessions which made you give them the highest ranking?
Can I answer that, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the thing that I was interested in some of the sessions were that like for example, one session was even the Vice Chancellor ma'am's session was on interdisciplinary. Now, before attending this FDP, I was under the impression that when we do a interdisciplinary research, we're supposed to look at 2 disciplines and see how these disciplines interact. But then when I listened to ma'am's lecture and also another sir's lecture who spoke on political science and its connection with law, I got to know that we have to go beyond and look at interdisciplinary as a wholesome thing and not look at only 2 subjects. So something, if a speaker is speaking something which is out of the box, which we cannot get easily, that is something which interests me. So particularly those sessions where the speakers spoke something which we couldn't find, uh, those were the sessions which were interesting to me. Thank you.
Surely, because for us also, if I go to a class and the teacher is reading from the book, I also have the book. Why would I have to sit in the classroom to read that book? He should tell me something which is not in the book. So whatever is in the book, they should read at home. If there is a para which no need explanation, that was to be read in the classroom is understandable. So in the school, they were doing the lesson, they were reading from the, when we did the literature class, for example, there's always that, you read the essay, you read the story, and then the teacher will explain you the hidden meanings on that, and then you will be asked to do précis and all those kinds of things. But in higher education, it is how we are supposed to teach our cases, that we read the facts in the class, we tell the arguments in the class, what we should be doing after. No, that is a knowledge which the students should come prepared with. And then we should give our idea of how do we see that, where is this case leading to? What is the background of this case? What was the context of the case? What is the impact of this case? Who are the parties which have got affected? There are a lot of questions which are not in the case, which we should be raising and discussing in the classroom. So if we take them beyond that, then they're interested to join our class. Otherwise, though, they will just log in, present in the online mode. They'll log in and they'll do something else because they know it's only attendance that they need. Because whatever the teacher is going to say is already there. So I certainly think that making connections of the knowledge we are giving. We say in higher education, especially professional education, there are 4 components which should form part of our courses. We all know knowledge is important. But in addition to knowledge, there are other three factors: attitude, skills, and ethics. Equally important. And this I learned during my stint in the academy. And that without these three other components, judicial education, legal education is just 1/4 of the education. We keep on criticizing as teachers of law that how the judge is insensitive, how the lawyer is insensitive, how they are not prepared. But did we ever talk about attitudes of people in the law faculties? We only teach them law. Should we talk about attitude? What is your attitude toward poor? What is your attitude about people from marginalized communities? What is your attitude towards women? How do you understand the biases of the law to these groups? Did we do any critical analysis of the law in our classrooms? So if we do not challenge attitude in the classrooms, how do we expect the judges to then become suddenly aware of the attitude biases they might have, or the lawyers for that matter? When it comes to skills, everybody has said good communication skill is one of the things which I've read many times in the chat box. How did this teacher learn communication? Was it taught to them in the classroom? Were we ever taught what is a good communication? Our lawyers should be very good communicators. But what is the focus of communication in our classrooms? Do we give them occasions to speak in the class? Then we give them a feedback on their presentation in terms of delivery, in terms of communication. Were they audible? Was their body language confident? Were they addressing the students, the student body? Were they focused on only one side? We give them feedback on the substance of their presentation. How many times have we given them feedback on the manner of presentation, the communication part of the substance? So if we want them to be good communicators, we need to build it in our teaching method, that when they make a presentation, we should point them out not only the substantive knowledge of what they're sharing, but also the tools they have used, the method they have evolved, etc. So sometimes that's important. Similarly, ethics. Without ethics, there cannot be a good lawyer, there cannot be a good judge. There cannot be a good legal officer, there cannot be a good teacher, there cannot be a good human being. But in our course curricula, please examine everybody, whichever discipline you are, how much component of ethic is part of the course curricula. So if we want to create professionals in the subject matter, we have to review not only our teaching methods, but also objectives of teaching. Why I'm teaching law? Is it only to make them familiar with the legal language, or is something else is my purpose? And that would, to some extent, determine how you deal with your students, how your students receive you. So I certainly think that it is important to focus for effective learning at the higher education. That we should be aware of the limitations of the adults, that they already have preconceived notions about life. And therefore, when they challenge us on some of the statements we'll make, you don't have to get offended, because they're coming from a different background with a different understanding of the situation. And therefore, allowing different voices to be raised in the class has to be there. So therefore, there is a tolerance, no intimidation. You are not the authority figure. You are only a facilitator there. So if we go on those kind of directions, then I certainly think that we will be more effective teachers. Our students will be happy in the classrooms, and we will get much better kick from the classroom, because I certainly think teaching is a okay, turn off the self video, deny. So so I certainly think that, for me, it's a nasha. It's you get so much satisfaction if you had a good class that you want to repeat it again and again. And that's what sustained me. The student satisfaction when their eyes pop up when I will tell them something new. So the way the earlier speaker mentioned that there was something new, connection, new knowledge, and then you certainly get interested. We can bring it to our classrooms. I think we are going to make our students happier, ourselves happier, and certainly the society, the impact of our students have on the society is very remarkable, and we have a very important role there. So I'll stop with that. If somebody has a question, feel free to ask me.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, any questions? Any questions? Sorry. Any comments? Okay, any inputs? Anybody else?
Everyone's probably tired after so many sessions.
True.
Yes, ma'am. Visi ma'am, do you want to say anything else to the participants, ma'am?
For me, no, I think I have been talking too much. That's rather leave them with the things to reflect upon that so many speakers have already given them.
Yes. Then shall I move on to the next part, ma'am?
Professor Ved Kumari, is there anything else you want to add before we move to the next part of this valedictory session?
I think everybody has said the right thing. Reflection is what you take from any training program, and not to just forget it. Okay, tick mark that my UGC requirement done. I've done another course, and that's not it. I think there were many thoughts, and see how you can carry them into your classrooms. And I think that's the whole point of the FTPs. We all hope that this would leave some impact. Certainly, no FDP is 100% absorbable. Our minds go away. That's normal. So when the speaker was saying, "Oh, every session was so good" and all that, I don't believe all that. So all that is said to please us, the organizers, but we know the reality. It can never be. It cannot be for our classes. It cannot be for anybody else's classes as well. But there will be always areas of spark. So carry those sparks with you, and have some of them reflect in your classrooms. And all the best. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your inputs. I hope
Going now
that
for certificate distribution and all, then I think I'll log out.
ma'am, we are having the formal
that-
vote of thanks, ma'am, as well
Okay.
as the national anthem. Yes, ma'am. Every celebration is an experience. The external fades away and the internal remains, and the reverberation in the most depth of our hearts. We are reminded that every event, like the one, are the landmarks of the journey of life and reminds of God's hospitality all through the life, as the gratitude can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, and a stranger into a friend. As we come to the end of our valedictory session, I request Dr. S. Amridalingam, Associate Professor of Law, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Nirmal, sir. A very good evening to one and all, and join virtually. So thank you to each and every one of you for being with us in the late evening. Gratitude is the quality similar of electricity. It must be produced and discharged and used up in order to exist at all. I am Dr. Samirthalingam, Associate Professor of Law and Convener of Faculty Improvement Committee, Tamil Nadu National Law University. காலத்தினால் செய்த நன்றி சிறிதெனினும் ஞாலத்தின் மான பெரிது. Meaning, உற்ற காலத்தில் ஒருவன் செய்த உதவி சிறியதாக இருந்தாலும் அதன் தன்மையை அறிந்தால் உலகை விட மிக பெரியதாகும். The English complete course, a timely benefit, though thing of little worth, the gift itself is an excellence and transcends the earth. It is great honor for me to stand before you and to propose formal vote of thanks for the first ever 1-week faculty development program on teaching methodology, pedagogy, and interdisciplinary approach. A virtual event organized by the Faculty Improvement Program Committee of Tamil Nadu National University, Trichy. So on behalf of the Faculty Improvement Program Committee and the administration on my own behalf, I would extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed resource person, Professor Dr. Ved Kumari, ma'am, Vice Chancellor, National Law University, Odisha. Thank you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time. Although we have some technical glitches, anyhow, you made it for us, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Our sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Professor V.S. Elizabeth, whose constant encouragement, support, and guidance enjoy the Faculty Improvement Program Committee and taste the real benefit in the history of Tamil Nadu National University. So on my own behalf, on behalf of our participants and the Faculty Improvement Program Committee, Thank you very much, ma'am. It is also my duty to thank our respected registrar, ma'am, and senior civil judge, Miss K.R. Leela, for extending her all administrative assistance for the successful completion of the event. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank our respected finance officer, ma'am, Tirumadi C. Anusha, ma'am, for your constant support and for the successful completion of the event, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. A wide round of applause and thanks to all participants from various education institutions across the country and from Tamil Nadu National University who made the event a memorable one. Thank you very much for all participants. And a special thanks to these participants who had volunteered to narrate the feedback and who accepted to propose vote of thanks for all the technical session. Thank you very much for each and every one of you. Finally, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the administrative staff, including our Deputy Registrar, AR Administration, Finance, Purchase, Section Officers, Administrative Staff, and a special thanks to IT Section, Mr. Pradeep Jain and Mr. Sendil Kumar, whose constant and untimely support for the purpose of creation of links and start the meeting and end the meeting without any technical glitch. A special thanks on behalf of our FIP committee. Then as I opened in our inaugural session, so tell me, I will forget. Show me, I will remember. Involve me, I learn. So now I think last 14th session, we the Tamil Nadu National University Faculty Improvement Committee involve you to learn in the process of an interdisciplinary approach, teaching, learning, and pedagogy. So we will meet soon in the same platform with the different resource persons and teams till the pandemic ends. If normalcy, as many of you have expected, we will invite you to our campus and we will have more academic sessions. So thank you very much for each and every one of you. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants and the dignitaries to rise for the national anthem. Thank you all. Thank you, VC ma'am. Thank you, Kumari ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Amrilingam sir, any comment on the certificate, sir?
Yes, sir. Please,
To
sir.
the
Please
participants.
give whatever instruction specific as we have discussed, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Felix, sir, please. Felix, sir.
I think sir has some network issue, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir. Dear participants, we are intended to provide the hard copy of the certificate. So we have collected your all the postal address. The certificate, once it is ready, your address. And also, we are having the plan to send it as a scanned copy as well. So you can expect the certificate within 15 to 20 days. Am I right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if you want, we could inform that our 2-week FTP, which we plan in the month of June, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, please. Any formality will be done with an approval of our VCMA. We could, sir.
Yes, sir.
The plan
Yes,
we
sir.
have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you all for your kind cooperation and support for successfully conducting this 1-week faculty development program. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, participants, for
Thank you, sir.
perspective.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
professors. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
congratulations,
Welcome,
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
PK, sir.
Thank you, Amrutalingam sir. Thank you, Nirmal sir. And thank you, Felix sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu, sir.
Welcome, Dr. Vishnu, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Vesi ma'am, shall we end the
Thank you,
session
sir.
now?
Thank you, Mr. Ravindran, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and congratulations to the FIP team, sir, for successfully completing the FDP program amidst so many issues and during the pandemic. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation and support. Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you. Sir, shall we end the session, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I think,
I will end the
ma'am.
session, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Jain, sir.
Thank you,
That's what
sir.
we have.
Please
Yes.
stop the recording and end the session, sir.
Thank you.
1 minute, sir. Sir, I think VC ma'am has left. Let's wait for 2 to 3 minutes, sir. Pradeep Jain, sir. I don't know whether
Madam is
VC
not
ma'am.
here, sir. Madam left, sir.
That's what. Because of network, ma'am had left.
Okay, sir. Then we will just wait, sir.
Wait for 2 minutes, sir. If ma'am comes, sir, then we will end, sir.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I think we can end the session, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we'll discuss over the phone, sir. We'll give an update.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pradeep Jain, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now you could stop recording and end the session, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We will give an
Thank you, sir.
update
Thank you, sir.
through
Thank you.
mail, sir, to VCM. Thank you, sir. Thank you.